So you're thinking about buying a home. It's a huge deal, right? I mean, for a lot of people, it's the American dream. It's exciting. But behind that dream, there's this whole hidden world of rules and legal details that, let's be honest, most of us have no idea about.
To walk us through this, let's meet Jane. Think of her as, well, basically all of us. She's worked hard, she's saved her money, and she's finally ready to jump in and find her perfect home. She is right on the edge of making this massive decision.
But here's the thing. Buying a house isn't just about whether you like the backyard or the kitchen layout. There are invisible property lines, weird old rights that go back centuries, and, yeah, actual legal traps that can really trip you up if you're not careful. So let's follow along and see what Jane runs into.
Okay, so Jane finds a house she absolutely loves. The yard's amazing, the light is perfect, but what is she actually buying? Because you're not just buying the four walls and a roof, you're buying a whole bundle of legal rights to come with it.
So her agent, who's really on the ball, suggests getting a property survey. Good thing she did, because it turns out that cute fence the neighbor has is actually sitting 2 feet inside the property line of the house Jane wants to buy. It's on land she'd be paying for. So what's that called? Is that even a thing?
Oh, it's a thing, all right. It's called an encroachment, and it's basically a physical object trespassing onto your property. This is a big deal, and it highlights a couple of key duties. The seller's agent has to disclose it if they know about it, and a smart buyer's agent will always push for a survey to find exactly this kind of problem. And then there's another little puzzle. The driveway, it's shared with the house next door. So who really owns it? Who gets the final say? And maybe more importantly, if Jane sells this place in 10 years, does that driveway deal just vanish? This is way more than just a friendly handshake agreement.
This right has a very specific legal name. It's an easement appurtenant. And here is the absolute key phrase. It runs with the land. That means the right to use that driveway is basically glued to the property itself, not to Jane personally. When she sells, that right automatically goes to the next owner. It's permanent.
So this one little easement creates two different roles for these properties. Jane's house is the dominant estate because it's the one that benefits from the easement. The neighbor's property is the servient estate because it has to serve that access, which puts a legal burden on their land. It literally limits what they can do with that part of their property.
All right, so we've got the physical stuff down. But get this, there's a whole other layer of rules. Now Jane has to get her head around the laws, the government powers, and the ethics that control the entire real estate world. While she's getting to know the neighborhood, Jane finds out that the little corner lot that used to be a small market was suddenly rezoned for a house. Like poof, one day it's one thing, the next it's another. Who even has the power to do that?
The answer is the government, and they do it using something called police power. Now, don't let the name fool you. This has nothing to do with police officers. It's the government's fundamental right to make rules for the public good, and zoning laws are the perfect example. Now, that's different from another power called escheat, which is just the government's right to take property when someone dies with no will and no heirs.
So in this whole web of rules, your agent is your guide. But here's the thing. While Jane's agent works for her, they have a core ethical duty to everyone in the deal. Honesty and fairness to all parties isn't just a nice idea, it's the absolute foundation of their license to practice.
And that fairness is locked into law thanks to the Fair Housing Act. Here are two of the big no-nos. Blockbusting is when an agent tries to scare homeowners into selling by suggesting that their property values will go down because people of a certain race, religion, or other protected group are moving in. And steering is when they push buyers towards or away from certain areas based on those same factors. Both are totally 100% illegal.
Jane's made it through the legal stuff, and now it's time to talk about the money. She is in love with this place, but love doesn't get you a mortgage. You need a number. So what's it really worth? You know, for a property to even have value in the eyes of an appraiser, it has to have 4 key ingredients. You got to have demand for it. It needs to have utility, meaning it's useful for something. Scarcity is a big one. If there were a million houses just like it, it wouldn't be worth much. And finally, it has to have transferability, which just means the ownership can be legally passed from one person to another without any problems.
So how do they actually land on that number? Well, the most popular way is called the sales comparison approach. They take Jane's house, the subject property, and find recently sold homes that are super similar. We call them comps. So comp A sold for more, but it had an extra bedroom, so the appraiser adjusts down, subtracting that value. Comp B sold for less, but it had a smaller garage, so they adjust up, adding value. The whole point is to make the comps look exactly like Jane's house on paper. And boom! After you do the math, Both roads lead to the same number. See, this isn't about feelings or how nice the kitchen is. It's a conclusion pulled straight from market data. Jane now has a real, solid number to work with for her offer, $290,000.
Okay, Jane has her number, she knows about the fence and the driveway. Now for the nail-biting part, actually making the deal and turning all this interest into actual ownership.
A deal isn't just one step, it's a real back and forth. Jane makes her offer, the seller comes back with a counteroffer. And this is so important. A counteroffer is a rejection. It kills the original offer. So now, Jane accepts the seller's new terms, but wait, it's still not a done deal. It only becomes a real binding contract the moment her acceptance is communicated back to the seller. That final step is everything.
Once that communication happens, the contract gets this fancy legal name, executory. All that really means is that everyone has signed, but all the promises haven't been fulfilled yet. You know, the money hasn't changed hands, the deed hasn't been transferred. It's that in-between period from when you agree to the deal to when you actually close.
During this executory waiting period, the title company is digging through all the historical records of the property. So how does Jane make sure no long-lost relative of a past owner is going to show up with a claim? The answer is simple and absolutely vital. She gets a title insurance policy. It's the #1 way to protect her ownership and make sure the title is clean.
And just like that, with the keys finally in her hand, she did it. Jane is officially a homeowner. So after all that, what are the big lessons we learned from her journey?
So let's break it down. First off, remember that you're not just buying a house, you're buying a bundle of rights, which can have limitations like encroachments or easements. Next, know that there are big rules in play. Government powers and fair housing laws shape everything. Third, true value comes from data, not just your gut feeling. Fourth, a contract is a very specific dance of offer, rejection, counteroffer, and communication. And last but not least, do not skip the title insurance. It is your ultimate safety net. So, the next time you find yourself scrolling through homes online or walking into an open house, you're going to see things differently. You won't just see a building, you'll see the bundle of rights, the invisible lines, the whole process behind it. Now that you know the hidden rules, the real question for you is, what do you know to look for?